the big picture in the future. So let's just take a little stock take on where we are with that, because the Observer has a couple of pages looking at that, pointing out in one article on those pages nearly 300 flights within the UK are taken by government staff every day, and then they have an analysis here of the wins and losses in week one of the climate summit. What are your thoughts on where we are after a week?
Well, first of all, I think there must be a government department of rank hypocrisy. They're telling us to take fewer flights, quite right too, but at the same time, they are taking 300 internal flights every day, not a year, every day. And Norman Baker, Lib Dem, says the government is increasingly good at lecturing other people while doing the opposite itself. And it's very hard to get away from that conclusion. So that aside, I think COP26 has been disappointing in many ways. For me, the biggest disappointment is two of the major polluters in the world, China and Russia, didn't even turn up. You know, that is a very, very severe drawback for any conclusions that we can draw from this conference, because they are two of the major players, and to be honest, two of the major powers that are destroying this planet. However, I don't want to be completely Eeyore-ish and followed around by a cloud of doom. There are some glimmers of light. India's movement on promising to withdraw or to draw down the amount of emissions by, admittedly only by 2070, but that is a huge step forward. They've never made such a commitment before. Also, Brazil signing up to the agreement to reduce deforestation is a major, major step. Do you know that the equivalent of 30 football fields of forest are cut down every single minute? I mean, that makes your head spin, that stat. So if there is some movement on fossil fuels, on emissions, and on deforestation, then that's got to be counted as a cautious victory.
We're going to need to start moving quickly to get through as many of the papers as we can, but I just wanted to get your thoughts, Lucy, on COP26. I mean, they actually sort of get the thoughts of a 10, a 12 and an 18-year-old on their pages. How much do you think it is cutting through?
Well, I'm slightly worried that people have reached saturation point with it. But in a way, you know, this is the hard work at this moment. We've had the Leaders Summit at the beginning of the COP conference. At the moment, we've got the technocrats, the negotiators going through lots of the detail. I think the Observer's done a really helpful task today in going through a sort of scorecard. You know, as James said, you know, when it comes to forests, that's a big win for COP. You know, more than 100 nations have signed up to halting and reversing deforestation by 2030. On methane, on coal, it's a bit more of a mixed picture, particularly with the likes of China not willing to sign up to either, nor India, US and Australia not willing to commit on coal, Russia not willing to commit on methane. And also, to my mind, interesting that there's now a very mixed picture on what the current plans put forward by each nation will do in terms of limiting global temperatures. Of course, at the Paris COP conference, the world agreed that we need to limit temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Interesting that the International Energy Agency is saying we're almost there. You know, the plans put forward for this COP get us to 1.8 degrees in temperature rises. The UN disputes that. They think it will be far higher at 2.7 degrees Celsius. So I'm quite interested to see where the consensus of scientists falls along that quite big spectrum.
I want to talk about the picture on the front of the Sunday Telegraph. It's Ayan Rafiq, the son of cricketer Azeem Rafiq, and he's holding there a banner, "Racism is not banter," referring to